Hi, my name is Tana Chartier, and I am a recreation therapy enthusiast. I work, study, and volunteer in the field, as well as advocating for recreation therapy in several ways. I also have bipolar disorder type 1, and what most people don't know is that reaching the point I'm at now has been a road marked with scars, trials, moments when I truly had to push through, and moments when I had no desire to push through at all. I am proud of the person I am today and where I'm at in the field of therapeutic recreation, but let me tell you, I have fought to become this person. I'm going to share a little bit of my story, a little bit about bipolar disorder, and a little bit about how I got here today. I want to warn you that this is not a light story, and while I haven't included details of some of the darkness I have encountered, there are some heavy moments. I feel it's important to share my story with other therapeutic recreation professionals so that they too can understand better for themselves what bipolar looks like, how to support someone with bipolar disorder, and so that they know that they can succeed despite any obstacles that might come their way. So bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is characterized by extreme highs in mood energy, known as hypomania or mania, and extreme lows, known as depressive episodes. Usually, the first type of episodes precedes the latter, so I'll start by telling you a little bit about my experience with mania. To debunk a few myths, I'm going to start by letting you know that manic episodes are not a super productive, fun time. I have had people come to me after I disclose my bipolar diagnosis and say, "It sounds so much fun to have that much energy. I would love to have just a few days of mania. I could get so much done." If you have had this thought, I would encourage you to reconsider your wish. If I could objectify mania into one analogy, it would be this. Feel free to close your eyes and imagine this situation. You're driving in your car, and someone has, unbeknownst to you, put a brick on your gas pedal. At first, it's fun to feel yourself speed up. There's a rush that comes as the kilometers per hour rise, and you steer like a Mario Kart character, flying around the corners, feeling like you're suddenly a race car driver. But here's the problem. Even if you come to believe you are that Mario Kart character or a race car driver, you aren't. You are not made or trained to operate a car going this speed. Now, here's where it gets worse. Your brakes are suddenly going to quit working, and you might not even notice. It's okay though, because you can steer, right? Again, you might feel like you're steering, but eventually you'll lose that too. And the worst part, everyone around you will notice before you do. You'll cling to the fact that it's fine, I'm designed to go this fast, I'm handling this well. And then you'll get to a red light, full steam ahead. There's nothing you can do, and the crash is inevitable. Although I love this analogy, I dare say that the ins and outs of mania are even more complex than a fast car with no steering or brakes. For me, it can look like so many things. I wrote a small piece about this at the beginning stages of my mania that I'll share now. It's like my brain is vibrating in my head. If I close my eyes, my thoughts get shaken. I don't care if it's 11 p.m., I had better order that subscription box, apply for that job, and, oh crap, I haven't checked my credit score in a while. I did have that one spending spree, but I paid it off with my savings. Oh, how am I going to save now? Oh, I'll just marry someone rich. Oh, I should make a dating account. Should it be a Christian one? Is it important that he loves Jesus? Me? Oh, I'm on fire for God. I'm a Technicolor Christian. Oh, color. I need more color. I want to stand out. No more boring blah tan. I'll do some shopping, pay it off later. I'll just get a second job. I did apply for that one. Is it too late to email them? Too early? Oh my gosh, 6 a.m.? How did that happen? Time to follow through with all the random commitments I signed up for. Sleep is for the dead anyways. I'd love to say that this is the extent of mania, but I wrote this at the beginning of my manic experience, when I was aware I was speeding up. These are the thoughts I notice before I fully lose control. For example, extreme spending on the things we want is one thing. I'm sure I'm not the only one here that has spontaneously spent a little too much on Lululemon. For me, a purchase like that is a warning sign that I'm starting to step on the gas, so to speak. If I'm not conscious of these warning signs, they start to disappear. But the compulsive need to spend does not. I soon lose control of what I want versus what I need versus what I had a compulsion to buy that has no use in my life whatsoever. I do have moments that I look back and laugh at. We all need those. For example, there was a manic summer, because yes, a true manic episode typically lasts several weeks to months and is not just a burst of energy, where I gave money to every organization that called and asked. Now, giving to Red Cross and Mothers Against Drunk Driving is relatively normal, and there's nothing wrong with giving to any organization that you'd like to support. But when the following year, I got a call from the Firefighters Curling Association saying I gave a large sum of money last year, I had to chuckle to myself. I'm all for leisure, but this donation felt a little extreme. Like I said, Funny at times, but when you can't pay your electricity bill because you spent your savings on seemingly random things and then racked up your credit card in support of curling firefighters, you laugh a little less. It gets even more scary when mania becomes greater and reality becomes less. There are times that I have lost enough sleep, or my brain has been in chemical mania for so long that reality becomes distorted. This is often referred to as a manic psychosis. For me, it looks like a paranoia. My mind convinces me that the people that love me are against me. And to make things worse, I find myself fearing that my medications are hurting me instead of helping. You don't need to be a pharmacist or a doctor to understand that quitting a mood stabilizer cold turkey in the middle of a manic episode doesn't exactly help the problem. As I said, these problems have compounded from anywhere from weeks to months. Sleep becomes a foreign concept, and I go multiple days with little to none of it. I find myself literally speeding in my car because the world just feels so slow and mundane. I've maxed out several credit card accounts, blown through student loans, and I tend to overcommit. In my head, I'm invincible, but just for a moment. To the world, I'm hard to understand and even harder to reason with. The brick on the gas gets heavier, and before I can realize it, I lose my brakes and steering. Red light, oncoming traffic. Crap. This begins the first type of depression I experience, which I call crash depression. It's the sinking feeling when I suddenly realize that I have overcommitted, overspoken, blown through several friendships, thousands of dollars, and probably received a few speeding tickets along the way. Suddenly, I am not awake with excitement and fresh ideas, but with a dread at the thought of telling my support system, that is likely well aware, that I have unraveled again. It's a late night begging to God to fix me or just to take me because I can't untangle this mess yet again. It's like waking up after hosting a huge party only to realize you're stuck with a big mess and no energy or resources to clean it up. It feels absolutely hopeless. This depression is a consequence of mania. If mania itself doesn't land me in the hospital, the depression usually does. Usually this is because I am so ashamed of the mess I've made that I feel like it would be easier to hurt myself than to clean it up. I've tried to give up. Every day that I am farther from giving up is a day I truly celebrate. I'm learning I have people, and I believe in a God that refuses to give up on me. Time and time again, they help me pick up the pieces and build back into something resembling a life worth living. A life that is in control and that reflects the person I want to be, the person I know I am deep down. I cannot express how grateful I am for family and friends that pick me up without contrasting this with a story from my time at the Lethbridge Soup Kitchen. I was a healthcare aide, but then I got diagnosed as bipolar. Believe it or not, these are not my words. This is my story, but these are not my words. Running an art program one day, an artist from our transient population shared this with me. My heart broke. I was a healthcare aide. I know the beginning of this story all too well. I remember days getting up for work and going so fast I forgot half the tasks, and I remember the days when I couldn't get up at all. I remember when it all became too much. Here's the difference. After that, I remember my friends and family surrounding me and helping me out financially and emotionally. I remember reaching out and getting so much support from the people cheering me on. Not everyone has that experience. The friend I made that day did not. I don't know her whole story, but I know that day her story involved lunch at the soup kitchen and coming to art program for a warm place to weather the storm. Support is everything for a person battling a mental illness. If you can, be there for someone. If you need someone, please reach out for your people. This is just one example of a girl that didn't have someone to pick up the pieces with her. I cannot imagine how hopeless that must feel. I have experienced the turmoil of manic crash, and I don't ever want to experience being truly alone in it. I don't think I would be here today if I had. The second kind of depression I experience doesn't always come after a manic episode. Sometimes it just hits. It too comes with loud thoughts and quiet voices. But suddenly they're telling me that I'm not enough, that I'll never succeed, and that I may as well give up. Again, I have been in a place many times where giving up feels like the only option. I am ashamed that I have succumbed to those thoughts at times, but I am so glad I have not succeeded when these thoughts become too much. I am so thankful for my informal support network, and some of the formal supports our province and city have to offer. If you've been down this road, though, you likely know that asking for help can be really hard and is not always met with a positive response. There is so much stigma around mental health and mental illness in our system. If you know this firsthand, I'm sorry. It's so hard. But keep showing up. I wrote this small piece after an emergency room experience where I came in feeling desperate and left feeling hopeless. If this resonates with you, please keep showing up. They say I'm a frequent flyer at the hospital. I can practically feel the eyes rolling as I walk to the desk, to my chair, to that little psychiatric room in the back. I hope and pray that the system I've been told to reach out to will be helpful, or at least a kind voice amongst the turmoil in my mind. I know they can't work miracles, but coming in was my last resort, the last step on the safety plan I made in that very hospital. What does a person do when their last step says there's nothing they can do? It feels pretty hopeless. You see, I'm not the only frequent flyer here. There's this elephant. It sits on my chest and makes it impossible to breathe, think clearly, or act rationally. You might say, it's just anxiety, but I promise you, there's no just to the way it feels. He's a frequent flyer, and sometimes I need some help. And there are thoughts that swirl and scream, telling me awful lies about myself, screaming at me to hurt myself in ways I won't put to paper. They're loud, sometimes louder than the truths I beg my mind to cling to, sometimes louder than the obligation I feel to keep hanging on for all those that love me. I beg my mind to cling to control, but it's so hard when these thoughts are such frequent flyers. When I'm feeling trapped, anxious, desperate, and alone, and the very system I've been told to turn to acts like they're tired of me, I get scared. Unfortunately, scared has become a frequent flyer too. Scared of what they'll say when I go for help. Scared I'll be inconveniencing people and treated as such. Scared tries to stop me from moving forward. I promise, if I'm coming to you for help, I'm not just coming for attention. Or if I am, it's the way a drowning person seeks the attention of a lifeguard. I'm only asking you for help because I just might drown without it. Because I know people who have drowned because they were too scared or were brave enough to cry for help and were turned away. So I will keep seeking help. I will keep showing up when I don't know where to go. I will advocate for safe and dignified mental health care until the elephant of anxiety on my chest is treated with as much respect as a blood sugar low or a heart problem. I will keep showing up for help and asking for help for those who have fallen through the cracks, or manholes, that exist in our system, that have lost their battle with mental illness because of stigma and shame. I will keep showing up and asking for help because I have a family and friends that love me and need me. They show up for me in countless ways, and I'm going to keep asking for help so that I can continue to show up for them. So yes, you may see this frequent flyer again. It's because I believe in a better future for myself and those around me, and I want to make it through the nights that feel impossible. It's because somewhere within me, I know that this can't be it for me, and this can't be it for the care that this generation or the next receives when they ask for help. We have such a long way to go when it comes to mental health and mental illness care. And luckily, I'm speaking to a generation of health professionals right now, therapeutic recreation professionals to be specific. We may not be emergency room doctors, but we can be trailblazers of patient-centered care in a way that affects everyone. Through education and advocacy, we have the opportunity to foster the birth of a system that sees people for their strengths and meets them in their darkest moments to remind them of this. Therapeutic recreation professionals are met with a unique opportunity to show the healthcare system that illness is not identity, that every person has worth, strengths, and is worth recovering. Recovery for me first looks like radical acceptance. I don't have to love this fact, but I have accepted that I will likely have bipolar 1 for the rest of my life. I will likely never stop needing medication, and staying well will remain a daily battle. There are a few things that contribute to this for me that may help in your journey with patients with bipolar down the road. Number 1 is routine. Anything from a late night with friends to a holiday to a time zone change can really rock the boat of a person at risk of mood instability. It's important for me and my care providers to be aware of this. Of course, sometimes a change in routine is inevitable, and I would miss out on a lot of life if I didn't have some flexibility here. I've learned that I need to cope ahead, as I call it, when it comes to situations like these. This can look like anything from bringing medications to events I know I'll be at late, to securing an exit plan at friends and family gatherings before anything goes awry. I encourage you to try the cope ahead strategy with both your own needs and the needs of your clientele that you encounter. Number 2, medication consistency. Like I said, there are times when I feel I don't need any medication, or even feel like it's hurting more than it helps. A trademark symptom of bipolar is to discontinue medications because my meds are working is confused with I'm suddenly cured because I feel good. We don't have a lot of pull in the medication department as recreation professionals, but we can offer some support with consistency, scheduling, and the reminder that medication changes need to be discussed with a person's doctor every time. Finally, my 60 kilometers an hour theory. Naturally, another car analogy. I've had to learn for myself that I function best when I can maintain about a 60% workload. Anything beyond that, and I start to lose control of steering and brakes, and feel like stepping on the gas more and more. Even when my friends are taking on more, I continually need to remind myself that I am not them, and 60 kilometers an hour is my best speed. Even when commitments sound fun, 60 kilometers an hour. Even if the speed limit is actually 90 and it feels like everyone else is doing just fine at that speed, 60 kilometers an hour. I'd encourage you to find your optimal speed as a person and professional and stick to it, bipolar or not. It's also great to help patients recognize what speed they function best at. I'm going to close this talk with a favorite poem I've written that sums up my experience. Essentially, I wouldn't wish bipolar on my worst enemy, but I also wouldn't trade it for the world. I've learned so much from my brain that has helped me, is helping me, and will help me in my future career. If you have questions, feel free to email me after you listen to this poem. I'm open and would love to share with you in any way that will be constructive. I'm just an email away, and I love to advocate for things that help. But before that, I'd love you to listen to The Seed. I cannot leave the pain behind. There's no place of reprieve. When your mind is your worst enemy, it's impossible to leave. This cage within my consciousness holds the depths of all my shame. So I numb until I'm separate from my skin and bones and frame. I try to make a great escape, to break into empty space. An empty fog is better than meeting darkness face to face. I beg my mind to separate from pain I cannot bear, but no matter how I run from it, my shame is always there. Eventually, it's all too much, and I can't escape the night. I can feel the breakdown coming, and I'm too afraid to fight. So I fall into the darkness, leaving all I love behind. Ignore the people begging me to not let myself unwind. I fall until I'm broken, a soul shattered on the ground. What once saw life feels ruined, potential shattered all around. I'll stay here for a little while and feel the end has come. I'll sit amongst my broken parts that were just begging to be numb. But somewhere deep in all the dark, there remains a tiny seed. It longs to be discovered. It knows it's what I need. Slowly and without much to lose, I'll pick up this different part. It doesn't match my broken self, as it resembles a fresh start. It looks like picking up the mess, leaning into truths I hold. It resembles knowing there's more to life if I just let it unfold. And though this seed is tiny, I could have lost it in the mess. As I see the truth it has for me, I prepare to leave the rest. This piece is more than hanging on or learning how to cope. As I let it grow inside of me, I realize it's hope. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this. I hope you learned something that will help you in your personal or professional path, and I am just an email away with any questions.